Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something that is really shaking the foundations of the hemp industry.
It's a seismic shift, for sure.
Yeah, we're talking about new federal regulations.
Yeah.
They were kind of tucked away into the 2025 government funding bill.
And some sources are calling this an extinction-level event for a huge part of the market.
It's a big deal. Our mission here is to unpack that. We've gone through analysis from legal experts, from industry strategists, and we're leaning heavily on insights from brand strategist Brennan. He's really broken down what this means for survival.
All right, because we're talking about a $30 billion market. That's billion with a B.
$30 billion just on the chopping block. That's not just sales, that's jobs, investments, everything.
Everything.
Okay, so let's unpack this. How on earth did a provision with this kind of impact get through Congress? I mean, where was the industry pushback?
Well, that's the classic Washington story, isn't it? It was a stealth move. The provision was slipped into what's called a minibus, a must-pass funding package to reopen the government after a shutdown.
They called it a clean CR, a clean continuing resolution.
Yeah, exactly. That was the framing. But it was anything but clean. It had this massive policy rider attached.
Because everyone was so focused on just, getting the government running again.
Precisely. Lawmakers were under immense pressure to pass the whole thing immediately. By the time most in the industry saw the final text, it was basically a done deal.
So who was behind this?
It was championed primarily by Republicans, arguing they were closing a loophole.
The THCA loophole.
The THCA loophole, yeah. They claimed companies were using it to sell intoxicating products without any regulation. But what's really fascinating is the lack of organized resistance.
So the hemp lobby wasn't effective?
Not this time. A few senators, like Paul and Cruz, tried to get the language stripped out, but the vote to do that, it failed badly. And most Democrats actually voted to keep the new language in.
So it was bipartisan?
It was, which tells you that other powerful lobbies, think big cannabis, big alcohol, were much more effective with their messaging. They basically convinced Congress this was a problem that needed a federal solution.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's get into the weeds of the technical change here, because this is where the entire $30 billion industry was built.
Yeah.
It was all based on a very specific reading of the 2018 Farm Bill.
A very, very specific reading.
So what was that golden loophole, and how exactly did this new bill close it?
Okay, so the old standard from 2018, it only limited one thing, Delta-9 THC.
Which is the main psychoactive component.
Correct. The limit was 0.3% by dry weight, but the cannabis plant naturally produces a ton of THCA.
Tetrahydrocannabinolic acid.
Yep. And THCA is non-intoxicating on its own. It only becomes psychoactive Delta-9 THC when you heat it.
Right, a process called decarboxylation.
So for years, companies could legally sell flower with, say, 20% THCA because its measured Delta-9 THC was below 0.3%. That was the loophole.
And the new standard.
The new standard blows that up completely. It shifts the measurement from just Delta-9 THC to total THC concentration.
Total THC, so that includes the THCA.
It explicitly includes the THCA. The formula is basically your Delta-9 plus your THCA converted to its potential Delta-9. So all that high THCA flower, it's no longer legally hemp.
Wow. But it goes even further, right? It doesn't just target the raw flower. It goes after the finished products, too.
It does. And this might be the most brutal part for many brands. The bill sets a new limit for final products like edibles or vapes.
And that limit is?
Not more than 0.4 milligrams of total THC per container.
0.4 milligrams. I mean, for context, that's not even a microdose. That effectively makes any intoxicating edible impossible to sell at a federal level.
It's a functional ban. And they closed one other door, too. They specifically excluded intermediate products from the definition of hemp.
What does that mean, intermediate?
It means while you're processing it. Processors used to be able to let their extracts go hot, go above the Delta-9 limit during manufacturing, and then fix it before the final product. Ah, okay.
Now that's illegal too. The entire supply chain is under scrutiny from seed to sale.
It's incredibly comprehensive. So the law is signed. When does all this actually take effect? When does the guillotine fall?
Well, there's a small bit of breathing room. It's not immediate. The law has a built-in 365-day delay.
1 year.
1 year. So it kicks in around November 2026. That's the window the industry has to either adapt or die.
But I saw there's a much shorter deadline in there, something involving the FDA.
Yes. And this is critical. It's the 90-day FDA mandate.
90 days.
Within 90 days, the FDA has been ordered by Congress to define and list all the other cannabinoids that are psychoactive or mimic Delta-9.
So things like Delta-8, HHC, all the minor cannabinoids.
Potentially all of them. This FDA ruling will finalize the total scope of the ban. It's hugely important.
But wait, the FDA has famously struggled to issue any clear guidance on hemp since 2018. Can they actually do this in 90 days? That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or I guess the $30 billion question. Congress has forced their hand now, so everyone is watching that deadline very, very closely.
Okay, so even with the one-year delay, there are problems hitting companies right now, aren't there? This is where the banking crisis comes into play.
This is the most immediate threat. It's happening as we speak.
What's happening?
Banks, they don't have to wait until 2026. Right now, they can look at any hemp company that was selling THCA products and reclassify them.
Reclassify them as what?
As a Tier 1 marijuana-related business, or MRB, basically a high-risk, federally illegal enterprise.
And if that happens,
Your loans get called immediately.
they can just do that.
Oh, yeah. They'll cite clauses in the loan agreements, things like material change of business climate or perceived risk of loss. They don't need to wait for the law to take effect. The risk is there now.
So businesses could be forced into bankruptcy in the next 6 months, long before the law is even active.
That's the existential threat. This is a capital crisis today.
Unbelievable. Okay, let's just to the survival guide then. For the brands that are facing this, what's the game plan? What does Brennan, the strategist we're drawing from, suggest they do right now?
His first point is urgent, and it's not political. It's financial.
Okay.
He says every single brand needs to get their lawyer on the phone today and review every single loan covenant they have. You have to get ahead of the banks.
Protect your capital first.
You have to. Surviving the next 180 days is about cash flow, not just future compliance.
Okay, so once they've shored up their finances, what's next? The federal game is over.
So the new battlefield is state versus federal. Brennan's take is that this forces the industry into a state-by-state model, just like regulated cannabis.
So if a state has its own standalone hemp law, that's different from the federal definition.
They might have a temporary safe harbor, but that makes interstate commerce a nightmare.
You'd have to set up manufacturing in every single state you want to sell in.
Exactly. It's a hugely expensive, fragmented model. Not many can afford that.
And what about advocacy? The industry was caught flat-footed. What's the political play?
Brennan says it has to be a complete revolution in how they advocate. The industry was fragmented, fighting against itself. Now they need one united, professional voice.
And what are they fighting for?
Lobbying for amendments to this bill, getting ready for the 2026 Farm Bill update, and maybe most importantly, fighting like hell at the state level to protect those local hemp laws.
So for an individual company, what are the actual business pivots Brennan is suggesting?
He lays out three main paths. First, the compliance pivot.
Okay.
Just give up on intoxicating products. Immediately switch to making things that fit the new rules, like non-intoxicating CBD drinks or industrial hemp fiber.
A complete business model change. What's the second path?
The narrow market focus.
Oh.
Go all in on one or two states that have favorable laws. Become a local player instead of a national one.
And the third option?
Strategic exit.
Just sell or close down.
For some companies, especially those with a lot of debt, it might be the only financially sound option. Prepare for an orderly wind down.
But the key thing from his analysis is that consumer demand isn't going away, right?
That's his North Star. People still want these products. The market will find a way to meet that demand, but the way businesses operate will be fundamentally different. It's a forced evolution.
So, to sum it all up, the total THC standard is here. The loophole is closed.
Yeah.
And for these THCA brands, survival now depends on immediate financial defense, a major strategic pivot, and a whole new political fight over the next year.
Yeah, that's it. This really highlights what happens when innovation outruns regulation. You get this massive, painful market disruption that's designed to slam the brakes on and bring everything back under tight control.
It's a huge deal. The whole supply chain is now at risk. And I think that leaves a really big question for anyone listening, whether you're a consumer or in the industry. Will that 90-day FDA ruling just slam the door shut on all the minor cannabinoids for good? Or will the imminent collapse of a $30 billion market finally be the catalyst that gives the hemp industry the single powerful voice it so clearly needs to fight for its own future?